And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel. And I tell you, every time Njiru comes on the show, you know the tweets are coming in, Willie. I can't hear you. Thick and fast, Willie says. So he's got a cold, so anyway. And let me just read a couple of them. Beatrice Kiaka Achie says, wow, the show is wonderful. Victor Anyim says, true, Ken. It's called Ukoloni Mamboleo. Valentine Devin says, how much of your potential do you use daily? Good question that Ken asked earlier on. Justina Wamai, you say, Ushenzi mentality, check out. JKL. Sammy Kaitani says, we need only 1,000 Kens to liberate this country. And then Nicholas, you say, this dude Ken is making lots of sense, more than the entire parliament. Speaking of which, Ken,
yes.
Baba Yao is back.
Yes. First of all, the electioneering.
Yes.
We talk about
yes.
Baba Yao. Now, in principle, by the way,
and the question I asked you is, we're always in electioneering mode.
Yes. In principle, you see, politicians are paid to politic. And that is granted. And any political scientist will tell you, and any practitioner of politics will tell you that preparation for the next election starts immediately. The election, is over. But having said that, the whole concept of electioneering can be Uungwana electioneering or Ushenzi electioneering, all right? If it is based on well thought out ideological positions, then the challenges that you then throw to the incumbent are basically aligned to a thought process. They are aligned to whether you're a social democrat, they are aligned to whether you're a conservative, they are aligned to whether you're a liberal, whatever you are. And you're saying, if we were in power, we'd do better. You're giving alternative policies, as opposed to an electioneering that is simply just saying, get those guys out so that we sit in.
Right.
That becomes destructive.
That's Ushenzi.
That is Ushenzi. And that everything, I mean, it's like, I'm sometimes, we met, young boys and girls who have this knack of every time you tell them, eat, no. Do this, no. Do this, no. But those are kids.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to do that as they're
juvenile.
They're juvenile. Yeah. But we cannot operate like that in this country. And one of the things that really disturbs me is the state of political parties in this country called Kenya. Some of us continually shifting. I've lost count.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these leaders have been in more political parties than I you would care to remember, and we are yet, of course, to see more coming up. I'm told that somebody has registered a party called even Okwa Kenya. So I suppose when the energy is raised,
they'll put it in.
They'll put it in.
Yeah.
But the for me, and I've had occasion of visiting some political party headquarters. I mean, you go and find a whole a party has a house like name it, any big building in Nairobi, that is a party headquarters, and on every floor there are people. One floor is agriculture, the other floor is foreign affairs, and there are people working. And for instance, you look at the German parties, whether you're talking about CDU or the SPD, the Christian Democratic Party, and the Socialist Party. Yeah. They actually have about 5 training centers, one in Mount Kenya, one in Kilimanjaro, where people actually go to imbue or to drink deeply into the ideologies of the party. I remember visiting one of them, the Christian Democratic Union, training center. We had gone there as young people from across, the world, so to speak. And as we were leaving, 3 or 4 buses came in full of kids who were about 12 years old, 13. And I asked, where are these kids going? And I was told, these are the children of the party members who are coming for a party, party meetings, induction, because they help with flyers. And that is where you'll hear somebody saying, I'm 4th generation Republican. I'm 4th generation conservative, because my father, my grandfather, my grandfather's grandfather was a Republican, because there's something we believe in. My friend, what we believe in? People who will come and go. So that parties come and go. Look at a party like KANU now. For all intents and purposes, it's in comatose. Yeah, and a party which brought us to independence.
Last 50 years.
And why is it in comatose? Again, we go back to what does it believe in? But even the whole question of what does it believe in is a function of the quality of leadership, or lack of it thereof. lack of ideological thinking, lack of in-depth thinking. Every time most of our leaders open their mouth, you wonder what is this juvenile doing in an elected position. And I've never forgotten, there's a professor friend of mine called Professor Kotho Kombo, took us through some training on leadership. He used to say there are two types of leaders: leaders who occupy leadership positions and leaders who lead. And I think many of the leaders in Kenya today simply occupy leadership positions. Many of them buy their way into parliament. Yeah. Talking about Babayao, people's choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken, overwhelming. I mean, half was 50% or whatever it was that turned out by election. That's normal. But this man, and he stated in no uncertain terms, Kabete is my stepping stone. I'm passing through Kabete.
Yeah.
I'm heading to Kiambu.
Well, like I said, people's choice.
So you get what you deserve?
You get what you deserve. And for me, first of all, one of the things I've constantly said is that Waitito as a person has, there's sometimes his public persona. In private, just like all these politicians, I mean, you've met them many times. Yeah. I mean, they are civil and urbane fellows. You'll have lunch. What did you call this restaurant again?
Yeah, La Pugnador.
La Pugnador.
Yes.
You'll have lunch and dinner with them here, and they know how to do the stuff. But the minute they step into the public space, they change. They actually give people what they want to hear. You see? So people like Waitito are simply masters of that. So if Kavoa is a problem,
well, I'm going for him.
I'm going for him.
Yeah.
And the people like what they hear.
They love it.
So they elect him. Such is politics.
So, okay. So coming back to you get what you deserve.
Yes.
Can we see a scenario, which is very likely?
Yeah.
Sonko, who looks like he's gunning for Kidero's job, could end up being governor of Nairobi County.
It's a possibility.
Right next door, Waitito, governor of Kiambu County.
It is a possibility. I mean, the many times I talk to people around the city, especially people of low income. They really like Sonko because Sonko has turned himself into a welfare machine.
Yeah,
he has ambulances to take them to hospitals, hearses to take them to to bury their dead. He dishes out money liberally, and by the way, I think in a normal conscious state, that is what you call bribing, inducing voters, as it were.
But they love it.
But they love it.
And love him.
And since we live in a society that questions nothing, it continues rolling. In fact, I keep on saying maybe Sonko should train the young people. Hopefully he gets his money, in a legal sense. He should show them how he made his money so that as many young people can make as much money as he has.
Because many want to be like him.
Many want to be like him. I mean, he's a hero in many places.
But have we lowered the bar? Is the bar so low now that there's a generation of Kenyans who are saying, this is our hero?
You see, Jeff, I think the problem we have here is that Sonko goes out and sells himself. And like I told you, politics is a game of selling. It's just like selling Coca-Cola. Those Kenyans who think are better than Sonko don't do it.
Yeah.
They are selfish.
They're sitting at home pointing fingers.
They're sitting at home pointing fingers. I mean, if you think you're better than Sonko, then get into the field. Go and give an alternative. That's what politics is. Point at him and say, you don't like him because of ABCD. Vote for me. All right? And in whatever that you're doing, let it be that you're able to fundamentally touch the hearts and the minds of the people, and they'll vote for you. I think that is the problem. The problem is not even Sonko per se. The problem is
the rest of us.
The rest of us. And like I said, it might be you who will take on Sonko. But many of us, like Moses, are asking, why me?
Why me?
Why me? That for me is the problem.
I say be afraid, Ken. Be very afraid.
No, not really. No, don't be. For me, I refuse to be afraid. I refuse to be afraid because I know, and you should know, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I refuse to be afraid because I don't believe God has made the African and me and you as junk. I refuse to be afraid because I know that all I need to do is to make that decision to be what God wanted me to be and to step out. I refuse to be afraid because I think Kenya is at a fantastic place where all we need to do now is just get up, dust ourselves and say, this is what it means to be human. I refuse to be afraid because I know we have good minds, we have good hearts, and we have young people, a generation of young people who want to achieve and achieve big. My concern, though, is that the people who have been given, responsibility across the board, whether we are talking about corporate leaders who basically should be leading us to the next, to the frontiers, through productivity, whether we're talking about political leaders, whether we're even talking about we as parents back home. My concern is that we are not giving these young people the best that we should be giving them, and that's what we should be addressing. That is what we should be addressing.
Yeah.
And I think we are, we are ready to explode. Everything is basically in place.
I always refer to one of my favorite movies, Ken, Black Hawk Down, when that Somali, the Mogadishu situation, when they shot down those Black Hawk helicopters. And the first helicopter that went down after the Al-Shabaab then, equivalent Al-Qaeda then, when they shot down that first helicopter, and the general turns to his mate in the control room when he's looking at all this, and he sees the helicopter going down, and he says, "We've lost the initiative." That was his line. We've lost the initiative. Have we lost the initiative, Ken?
I don't think so. You know, Jeff, I'm highly optimistic. I'm highly optimistic because if you're a keen student of history, you appreciate that even the countries that are trying to lecture us now, by the way, were at significantly lower levels than we are at. And I think we've taken a relatively short time, 50 years, to try and get to where we are, right? And in this space, there's both the potential to descend into an abyss, because for me, you can't remain, a constant for too long. Yeah, you either go down or you go up. But there is also the possibility of rising, and that's the possibility, and that's the hope I would like to live with, right? Because of what I am seeing. I mean, even despite the challenges, for instance, some of the things that are happening in this country, for example, let's call it devolution. I think it's a great thing, subject to some moderation. And I think that as long as we have the principle of self-govern being taken down to the grassroots, then the people start rising and the people start doing, great things. But having said that, on the question of devolution, my concern has been one, as we, as we were saying a bit earlier, the whole question of accountability.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that we can pat ourselves on the back the way we've been patting ourselves on the back when you are using almost 80% on recurrent expenditure. I mean, people are just, eating it and doing whatever you do with it, and 20% to development.
And you're not held accountable for it.
And you're not held accountable for it.
Or if you are, you say, I'm not going to resign. I'm not going to step aside.
I'm not going to step aside.
No.
Yeah.
It's my county.
Effectively creating Tin Pot Banana Republic dictators.
Yeah.
But for me, fundamentally, my problem is that the devolution structure, the way it is right now, does not connect to the people who it was supposed to basically serve, in the sense that the participatory role has totally been negated. Some people decide what they want to do, and then they go and hold, and Kabogo was talking about it yesterday, they go and hold a meet, they put in the newspapers, come to this meeting in some place, and you're given a kind of fait accompli type of position. Somebody reads out for you things which I would imagine the common man does not even understand, and then there are those who are for these things, hey, and then it is passed as people participation. I think that's Ushenzi.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I think the people need to participate, and the people need to be able to determine it is this road as opposed to this road. I think the governors need to get from this down from this high horse that they've climbed, right? They are not meant to be, first of all, I even hate the word governor. Why do I hate the word governor?
Because it's very colonial.
It's very colonial. By the way, don't forget that when the white man walked into this continent, we were governing ourselves. We were ruling ourselves, all right? And so he comes and beats, the senses out of us because he had the power, he had gunpowder. He quickly puts in place the chiefs who would sing his song, and then he builds a colonial system that is based on governance. All right? And because we have not disabused ourselves of the need to govern our people, now we have governors.
Our own
governors now at who governs me. Change that name. I hate it.
Me too.
I hate it.
Yeah.
He's meant to be a servant. A servant. That's what they say. They are servants. But look at the governor. They're chase cars. Security guys who push us aside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's total nonsense.
By the way, State House used to be known as the governor's mansion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the governor's mansion. And I'm saying, I think the philosophical basis of what we call our nation has not been addressed. I was part of the process, through the delegates conference that helped put this constitution together. But, in hindsight, and even then you could see, we were just cutting and pasting. There was no deep philosophical basis. We did not go back to ourselves and ask, how did we govern ourselves? And how do we want to govern ourselves? All right? And so that at the end of the day, what we have is a patchwork. Yes, better than possibly what we had. But I think we need to ground ourselves more deeply philosophically, because without a philosophy, in fact, it is said, philosophy precedes performance. So that if your philosophy is an Ushenzi philosophy, you'll always do philosophy. Right. And there's another, I like saying that things do not go wrong. They start wrong. so that if in the initial phases you did not think through what needed to be done, then you will end up making the same mistakes over and over again. That's what we call madness.
Yeah, insanity.
That is what we call madness. Insanity. Yes.
Ken, are there some highlights? Are there some high points where you can say, look, the last 2 years, we've made substantial progress. We've come a long way, and we look like we're going to turn the corner. Are there some areas?
I think, by the way, one of the things I would like to, and kudos I would like to give to the political class, despite the shenanigans, is that unlike in many, especially African situations, at least here we talk. They may be talking at each other, but somehow, when push comes to shove, they are able to say, okay, fine. They take us through mad, but they still say, okay, fine. Let's stop it then. Let's try the thing. And I'm hoping that systematically we'll see a lot more of that happening. I think I happen to have attended a meeting just as an example, that was held by the Senate for the county speakers, and the type of discussions I had going on there for me were marvelous. I mean, the county speakers are telling the senators their problems, and the senators are saying, okay, we will help you in this manner. And that whole discussion made me feel that actually things are not as bad as sometimes the media would want to protect.
But then it's one step forward, Ken, and then, on a certain day in the news, you see a scene like we saw at Kisumu Parliament or National Assembly, where some guy walks up to the deputy speaker, slaps her in public.
And he's still in office, by the way.
And he's still in office?
He's still in office.
And she's there writhing in pain.
And the police commissioner has done nothing about it. It was on the TV.
What madness, what shenziness is that?
In fact, they have made up. They have made up. It was in today's paper. And now business continues until the next beating.
Right.
That's Ushenzi. That's what I'm calling it. Total Ushenzi. But then again, Jeff, I think if, again, you are an avid watcher of what happens even in the political circles, I think this madness is not just uniquely Kenyan. I mean, look at the Japanese. They routinely fight in those parliaments. Yeah. I think that it's possibly what happens is there are different levels of refinement as far as politics is concerned. Sometimes, for instance, when you listen to the House of Commons, they insult each other in a very refined way. Why it's not, parliamentary? Yes. I would call you a dog.
Correct.
But you see, essentially, he has called you a dog.
Yeah, but in Kenya, he called you a canine.
But in Kenya, he says, and of course, he's being told, withdraw. I went withdraw. Then you're thrown out of the house.
Right.
I mean,
but he's called you Umbwa.
But he's called you Umbwa. I mean, the politics somehow is. In fact, they said, whenever you find democracy, you'll always find that cacophony. You'll always find noise. But let it be refined noise. Let it be a refined cacophony. Right. But again, I think we are also too focused on politics. I mean, in our daily newspapers, the only thing we see is politics.
It's the gospel here.
But then again, Jeff, who else is achieving? I mean, and that's not to say that there are not people doing things, but do we have that big business thing that is happening that we can talk about and say we have our Walmarts and we have our the guy, the next Kenyan has made this type of thing.
Right, smartphone.
Yeah, has made the smartphone, apart from just being distributors of Samsung and the rest of the stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Just like we did M-Pesa.
Yes, just like we did M-Pesa. I mean, are there other stories? Can we ignite those stories that we can start telling? Yeah. Where is our Steve Jobs, for instance? Who is it? Yeah. And for me, yes, we have businessmen, but I think there's so much more that they can basically do. There's so much more that
closer to home, where's our Aliko Dangote?
Yes, where's our Aliko Dangote?
Where's that man who's taken his billions from outside and he could have a castle in every country on the planet?
Oh, yes.
But he's pumping it back in that country.
Where are they? That's the question.
Where's our guy?
So that we can even start talking about them, all right? And I think, by the way, for me, the next frontier for this country is entrepreneurship, pure and simple. And when I talk about entrepreneurship here, I'm not just talking about mere business of trading and stuff like that, things that we do, getting things from China and coming to flood the markets. But I'm talking about entrepreneurship in the real sense, where we mean bringing new things, new products into the market that have never been there before, things that we can even sell to the world, and we can do it. But we need a major focus. You see, sometimes I get frustrated with the average, let me call him the average civil servant. Of course, there are very many good civil servants, but there are so many average civil servants who are still in yesterday, who will be running a kidri, which is supposed to be helping young people innovate, but we don't hear of any innovations.
Yeah, because he's stolen all the money.
Yes, stolen all the money and doing the rest of the shit that they're doing.
Yes, wherever.
Yes, wherever. And the next thing he does is run for parliament or senate, right, or whatever, and is elected.
And gets elected.
Or she's elected. So those are the shenanigans that we need to address. We need to get into that mold of growing this economy. I even say we can even grow 20-30%. I don't see the reason why we should not.
Double digits.
But our mindset needs to change. Yeah. We need to stop focusing on politics and politicians. When they come into town, we stop what we are doing.
Right.
By the way, I think this business of every Sunday or Saturday, people congregating. You know, many times I look at the TV, whichever party it is,
right,
on a Saturday, you know, you've gone to some area of this country and you have 1,000 people or 2,000 people. And I try to estimate, assuming this guy has 2,000 people waiting for him, right? Or even 1,000 for that matter. More often than not, the politician says, this meeting is starting at 11, all right? Yeah. So the people start coming at, say
9:30.
9:30.
Yes.
All right? So he doesn't come until 2.
Or 3.
So we're talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2.
5 hours.
5 hours. Times 1,000 people. That is 5,000 wasted hours.
Right there.
Right there. And then when you come, you come to make a political statement that is total nonsense.
So what do you go home with? Nothing.
Nothing. And you've wasted 5,000 hours.
Ridiculous. Ken, you were talking about innovations and all that. Last year, KTN, I don't know if you know this, KTN started this thing called Transform Kenya Awards. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw it.
We celebrated like the best and the brightest.
It must continue.
Yeah.
It must continue. I think this should be something that is even supported by the government. Yeah, we should have innovation centers in every county.
Yeah. Lee Kuan Yew did that.
That's what he did. That is what he did.
Look what happened to this country.
In fact, by the way, one of the things that has made Singapore what it is entrepreneurship. They are this, after America, and you know, America is essentially an entrepreneur nation. Yeah. They are the second country per capita in terms of the number of entrepreneurs. Meaning, if we don't become entrepreneurs, we are talking at each other. This thing of naomba serikali, that every time all you're thinking is what you can claw from the government, must go. We must embrace, you know, the Kennedy slogan, ask not what your country has done for you, but what you've done for your country. And what Kennedy was saying is that if we ask ourselves that question and we answer it fundamentally, what that means is that at the end of the day, we will all, by the way, have done our best, and this country will have lifted automatically. I want you to reflect on a very interesting statistic I came across of Singapore. They say 1 in 6 Singaporeans have savings of at least $1 million.
What?
1 in 6. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. They have about, call it 90 million shillings in savings. What does that mean? If you can be able to save 90 million shillings, of course you have your house, you have your car, basically things are running, and you have saved 90 million shillings, all right? And you can almost assume that if the 6th guy has 90, the 5th guy possibly has 60.
Correct.
The 4th guy possibly has 50. Right down.
And the poorest has like 20.
Like 20. But do you know what we choose to do in Kenya? We choose not to go that route. We choose to go the route of corruption.
So that we save 2 billion, that one guy.
Yes.
And the rest have nothing.
And the rest have nothing. And the 2 billion guy then buys a helicopter and becomes a senator, governor, or whatever they may he or she becomes. But then again, I want to quickly add that the problem is not even so much with that character who's flying and stealing from us. It is with you and me, Jeff.
It's us. Ken, I wanted you to hold that thought as we go to break and come back and say, if we were to be wired, you keep talking about wiring people properly. Yeah. If you're wired the right way, will we be able to achieve, because obviously there are outsiders who see a lot in Kenya. Yeah. Everybody's coming here. Yeah. IBM, Google, you name it. Dow. Yeah. They're all coming to Kenya. Yeah. What is it about this place that they see that we don't see? Think about that. By the way, tomorrow night, you need to know about this. We got 2 guys who are just gonna blow the bench away. More than Ken has done tonight, maybe. Don Moen and Lenny LeBlanc. Did I say that right, okay? Is that those are the names, right? You know those guys. I just heard about these guys last week. So Don Moen and Lenny LeBlanc, praise worship singers, Sunday morning sort of yada yada yada, kumbaya sort of thing. It's gonna be smoking.
My lord.
Tomorrow night, Twitter will be off the chain. Speaking of which, at Uungwana, Kenya, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. Ken Njiru is off the chains. JKL takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.